attorney.
And now, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.
Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better.
Hey there, crew. Good Tuesday morning to you. It is Mornings with Meister here. It's January 20th. I've got a little bit of a fun day today, heading up to the National Western Stock Show tonight. Have some rodeo tickets, so that'll be a fun thing. And going to take the dog for a longer walk today since our temperatures are going to come up compared to what we had yesterday. Starting my morning off with the mug here. I've got my American Classic coffee in here. I think what did I fire up? Grand Teton today, an organic medium roast. By the way, they have if you go onto their website and you order something and you put Peaks into the checkout, you get 10% off. How cool is that? Okay, I want to start off this morning weather-wise with yesterday up across A Basin. This is a new time lapse I got into the system yesterday. This is Montezuma Bowl, kind of on the backside of A Basin, looking off to the south here, and you'll see some periods of wind. Monday morning, up across the high country, started with a little bit of snow around this area. And we were seeing some snow around here yesterday, but like A Basin, a lot of us ended up with sun yesterday as the sun went down. Kind of a cool look there from the Continental Divide. Here's a look at the visible satellite, and you can see the snow field here shrinking because, again, we had sun. What's kind of cool about this, though, is that we can use visible satellite to see where the snow was. And in that snow field, there were some areas that had between 1 and 2 inches yesterday. We had lighter amounts across the Pikes Peak region and the plains of eastern Colorado, off to the north of the snow there. And a couple spots maybe cleaning some of that up out there today. We do have some high clouds that have moved in overnight, and that is the sign of some different weather out there today. I'm going to head over to the weather wall, and I'm going to do a little bit of forecasting from over there because we do have a little bit of a change on the way today and then into tomorrow. And you can see here where the clouds are rushing south. Out of Canada, there is some snow up around Billings, kind of on the tail end of a little jet streak there on the backside of this big trough that we've still had over the eastern United States for like 2 weeks now. They're ready to get done with that thing, but they're not done with the weather associated with it. There is some colder air up here. We'll get that to move in tomorrow. Today, we get the effects of what we call a prefrontal trough. It's a little area of low pressure just east of the mountains here. And with a high over the mountains and this low kind of strengthening through the day over the plains, we get downslope flow. And so we'll see it be strong enough. The humidity will be low enough that we've got red flag warnings up for the upper Arkansas River Valley, Wet Mountain Valley, Fremont County, Southern Mountains, I-25, with one exception here being the southern part of the Colorado Springs area because the wind won't be as strong as some of the other spots. And we'll get a little bit of gusty wind out there today as we head through the day. 35 currently as we start the day in Monument here. Good morning. Thanks for starting your day with me. Air Force Academy, don't have much in the way of wind yet, but we do have some in Walsenburg where we're running 18 miles per hour early this morning. So it's not a lot in spots, but the flow is coming down off of the hills, and that's making for some wild temps here early this morning. Some of us are quite a bit warmer than yesterday, where we've got that snow field. We're actually colder than this time yesterday. Some of the big mountain valleys colder. In fact, it's 2 in Gunnison this morning. But in contrast, look at Canyon City, Walsenburg, and the Springs. We're sitting in the 30s, and then out around that snow field, we're running about 10. So it's all over the place here early this morning, and it just depends on if you have that breeze or not coming off the hills. That will expand as we move through the day today. So we'll see more areas where the wind is picking up. And so by the time we hit the early part of the afternoon, it's pretty breezy here along the Front Range. Again, Pikes Peak might kind of shadow that a little bit over the southern part of the Springs. But there'll be some gusts in here too that I think on the high end of things get up around 40. For most of us, I think we're talking between 20 and 30 miles per hour. So we'll notice it up across Elbert County, Kiowa, out toward Agate, Lyman, Matheson, Rama, you'll notice it. Certainly downstream of the Continental Divide over a lot of the mountain and valley areas, we'll notice that as well. And so the benefit of that is, of course, warmer temps. So as I put that on here for the rest of the day today, you see that our numbers are going to give a boost from what we have yesterday. And then as the sun gets lower in the horizon, we'll see that wind start to pull back a little bit. And notice here by 6 o'clock tonight across northeastern Colorado, that's that front that comes in for tomorrow. So ahead of it today, we get temps in the 50s to around 60. And 30s and 40s back over the hills. And then tomorrow, we will be a little bit cooler. Ahead of the front today, couple high clouds rotating through. I'm not overly concerned about any moisture. This is going to be a dry front that comes in overnight, unlike the last couple that sideswiped eastern Colorado. But we'll be chillier up against the hills tomorrow. And then, you know, this is not a particularly strong front. There is one on the way. And we'll get some 40s across a lot of the area here on Wednesday. So that's kind of how the weather situation is sort of looking here as we move through the middle part of the week. So I hope you are having a good start to your day here, and hope you get some things done over the next couple of days. If you don't like cold temps, because there are some in the extended forecast. In fact, I did a post here early this morning on social media that I think Friday we hit our high temps while you're sleeping for a lot of us, because there is a big change on the way here as we head toward the end of the week. And it's one that some of you may not like, you know, I'm not sure here. But there is some Arctic air that is coming. So let me get that set up here in the weather computer, because I'm going to start off with what kind of brings this to bear here. There are several weather features that are going to drive our weather change, one of which is a system over the western U.S. and still another system on the backside of that trough over the eastern U.S. And then underneath that, some much colder air that is diving off to the south. So high temps on Friday for up across the Great Lakes and the northern plains, looking to be below zero. And notice how far south the leading edge of that cold air gets. Now, those two systems in the upper levels of the atmosphere will play a role in our weather in two ways. They help to increase the sort of large-scale lift. And notice that as we head into Thursday night and early Friday morning, we have flow out of the west. Well, that's going to create a little bit of a ramp over the colder air moving into eastern Colorado. And it is a situation we call isentropic upglide. So there will be some sort of lifting of this, what aloft anyways is relatively warmer air over the colder air at the surface. And what I'm not sure about yet is the movement of all of these upper level systems as we head through Friday and into Saturday. The speed of them is going to be important for snow chances in a big way. So watch the cold air come in here Thursday night, and I'm going to sort of zoom down to the southern part of the U.S. because as that cold air heads south, man, they are going to get a big time mess down in that part of the country with some freezing rain, I think, some mixed wintry precipitation as that subtropical air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere ahead of that low override this. Let me show you what I mean. Here's the freezing line in that sort of blue dropping south Thursday night as we get the cold front to come in. And watch what happens as we move into Friday. You'll see some pink develop here. And how long this lasts, freezing rain, maybe some sleet in some areas, snow farther to the north, is going to determine what I think is going to end up being a major ice storm across parts of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana. There may be snow as we head into the weekend over parts of Arkansas and the deep south, which obviously is a big thing for them. And you can see even into Saturday morning, we might be dealing with some of that as well. Again, my question's how quick do the upper level systems move off to the east? That will end up determining how much snow we get around here. So here's an early look at this. I don't want you to get hung up on the numbers here, but I do think some of the mountains will do okay, especially if those upper level systems are hanging out to the west longer. We'll see these things kind of give us multiple kind of rounds of some snow, which we need in the high country in a big way. So there's potential maybe for a little bit more than a foot in some areas. I think some of our local mountain communities will do okay as well. And then what would probably just be some light accumulation over parts of the plains, because here's the situation. When you get this Arctic air, the snow is airy and fluffy, and it's really, really easy for it to kind of accumulate a little bit. So, Dallas says, my parents are going to Mississippi or are in South Mississippi. That's going to suck for them. Yeah, I'm not so sure like in southern Mississippi if they'll get the ice or not, but that's something we'll watch for. Kathleen this morning says, good morning, Kathleen. Thanks for starting your day off with us. I appreciate it. Look at the dogs there all snuggled up. I am finding that I am a little bit sort of slow. Does it seem like that this morning? I wouldn't mind being curled up with my dog, kind of like your dogs were. So that's our situation here early this morning. So we will have some active weather here on the way later on this week. And that's one of the things that Peaks to Plains weather is all about. So if you haven't downloaded the Peaks to Plains app, go ahead and do that today. You can do it on the Peaks to Plains website, which is peakstoplainsweather.com. I've got forecast info there. The 24-hour channel lives there. One of the concepts that I try to do here is wherever you are is where I want to be. So social media, I've got you covered there. If you're on a web browser, peakstoplainsweather.com. The app, a great place to be, pulling up the app here early this morning. And I'll take a second here and kind of show you a little bit about how the app works, because I think if I can show you that, it's a little bit more useful. So here's my app early this morning, 24-hour channel living right there. I have my location turned on, and I can tell that by that little triangle that's right there. If you don't have your location turned on, go up here to the hamburger menu, hit location, and then hit follow me. And that might freak you out. I don't know, like, oh, hey, Jim's walking around and he's in Old Colorado City. I don't get any of that information. I don't want that information. What I do want, though, is when active weather's coming your way, I want to be able to tell you about it and say, hey, Jim, in Old Colorado City, thunderstorm's going to get there in 15 minutes. Heads up. Anyways, you scroll down here, you get the current conditions. You can look into the hours ahead. If you hit that, you can go out 48 hours, so that is really, really useful. I hit the main back at the bottom, and I go back to the forecast here, and I can kind of scroll down, and there's all kinds of information here. My latest updates, talking about the Arctic air here, loads up the website when I'm doing the streaming. It doesn't, my phone's on the Wi-Fi here at the house, so it doesn't work as good. But the point being in the app that you get different forecasts for where you are. You can even change the location in the forecast if you want to look at weather for Denver. If you're heading up to the National Western like me, you can get that forecast. If you're heading up to the ski resorts, you can check that forecast as well. I want to show you something that I built yesterday that I got up onto the 24-hour channel here, and it's going to take me a second to load it up. But it's a new thing for the ski resorts that is really... I'm excited about it. It's not going to look as cool as it will during the daytime because I have the cameras built into this, and it's dark up there right now, so it doesn't look that amazing. But let me open that here. Thought I had it, and I didn't, of course. Way to go, Meister. But this is the kind of stuff that when you have, you're not time constraints of TV. I get to do some fun stuff. So let me show this to you here because I think it's super, super neat. So the ski and board forecast for the next few days kind of looks like this. And I'll zoom in to start at Monarch, and you'll see the area load up there. And the draws there, you see kind of where the power lines run on the backside of the system. And here's a live look early this morning. They will have some off and on wind there the next few days. We'll zoom back out, and then we'll come down to Wolf Creek, of course, there on 160. And you see the sunlight coming up here early this morning. And it'll be in the 20s for the next several days for high temps, which is good, keeping the snow around that we have. And crew, we are just starting off the tour here because I'm going to pull back out And now we're going to go kind of into the central mountains here. Ski Cooper off to the north of Leadville. That is not a current camera. Their camera is down. I put a call in to their folks yesterday trying to get a custom link for me to be able to look at their live stuff. Because I want to show what's happening up there live, right? I mean, you want to see that before you're on your way up there. Here's a look at Aspen, Buttermilk, Highlands, Snowmass there on the right-hand side. You see the base early this morning. Looks like one of the sort of flashing lights from one of the snowcats is down there. At the base, they'll be in the around 40 the next couple of days before we see that snow move in here as we head into the weekend. And then I like this part. I'm going to take you from Beaver Creek, where how pretty of a shot is that? And I'm going to kind of drive you west on I-70. And what I like about this is we kind of just sort of see where these things are in relation to each other. So you go around a couple curves on I-70 and you get to Vail. They have a couple clouds there early this morning. And, you know, Vail, the back bowls are stunning. We'll drive a little bit farther west, and I'll take you to Copper, of course, up over Vail Pass. And you're in Copper there at the Big Bend on I-70. They're going to be a little bit windy today, tomorrow, into Thursday as well. But look at all those slopes there. And then you kind of just hop over the 10-mile range, and you get to Breck. It's crazy how close Breck and Copper are as the crow flies. But you've got to, you've got to drive up to Frisco and then come back down the 10-mile range when you're there. There's a beautiful shot early this morning in Breckenridge, and wind will be the issue here at the ski resorts over the next couple of days. We'll kind of fly you past Lake Dillon up toward Keystone here early this morning, looking back toward Breckenridge there. You see their slopes. Keystone, of course, with some awesome night skiing, and then a little bit farther up the highway, you drive to A Basin early this morning, and the big bowls that they've got there, Montezuma Bowl on the backside of A Basin. I mean, A Basin, you're just kind of skiing up above tree line, a lot of it. And then on the other side of Loveland Pass, I'll take you to Loveland. And so how neat is that to be able to see all of the ski resorts in relation to each other? Nancy has a question here, and this will be a good one to, can you add other Colorado locations rather than just searching the location? And Nancy, I can do that, but one of the kind of challenges here, and I'm pretty sure you're talking about the app because that's where I was. If I hit location here, the locations that I have searched lately show up in here. So if you have areas, Nancy, that you are interested in, once you put them in there, they're easy to find here in the menu. So hopefully that helps you, because obviously I can't put every town in there for everybody. It's just overload. And one of the things I'm trying to do in the app is to give you this customized experience. So I was checking something I had posted that I had out across the Eastern Plains. I had Lamar in there. My wife's family is in Kiowa, and so it's 23 out there early this morning, and their info for the day is sort of loading up. So out in Kiowa, they'll be a little bit windier than I'll have at my place in Colorado Springs later on today. So if you want to see the extended forecast for wherever you are, you can go down to days ahead, and then you can see information that I write for you in here, trying to give you a heads up about how I've changed the forecast, what the overall pattern is. So this is a lot more useful here than sort of a lot of apps that are defaulted on your phone or that you might download just to have model data spit out, which is one run of one model for one little place. And that's why you hear people at the grocery store going, well, my app says this. It changes from run to run because it's just model data. You need someone kind of overlooking that and massaging it. And that's the benefit of the Peaks to Plains weather app. So Nancy, I hope that helped you. Jim saying thanks for the app overview early this morning. You're welcome, Jim, trying to help, Charlie saying, I do love the app. It is really, really helpful. Well, thanks, Charlie. I appreciate that. And I'm going to keep improving that here over the weeks and months ahead when I do updates. You know, I can't do everything at once, but I am interested in your feedback. One of the things I've gotten from folks is they love that the 24-hour channel is right there, but they'd like to have my latest update that I, am taping here in the studio in there as well. When they're higher impact, I try to put them as a push notification up that shows up above the 24-hour channel. So you may have noticed a few of those over the last couple of days. Like I had one yesterday morning when there were some of us getting the snow. I'll do one here a little bit later. In fact, I did one yesterday in the afternoon and evening that you probably saw that was talking about the forecast here for later on this week. So there's lots of good stuff in there. And I do want to show you this morning. If you click on the weather map and you have your location turned on, it shows you where you are. Now, obviously today, oops, I'm on Kiowa. So let me go back to follow me. Always be aware of where your location is. Down here at the bottom, there's past and future buttons. And then there's also radar and 24-hour future. If you use those, you can transition from the radar, which tells you what is happening now and has happened in the last few hours, to change to Skycast, which shows you what will happen in the future. And today there's not a lot, but it shows you clouds and radar. That'll be more useful later on in the week. And then the other thing you can do when it is snowing, you click send to Matt down here at the bottom. And you can either take a new picture or video, or you can select from your gallery, and then you can send that to me. It'll use your email to do it, actually, right in the bottom of the app there. So that is something that is really, really useful as well. So those app tours, there's a lot going on in the app, and I want you to have a rich experience. So I try to share that with you here. So Nancy, hope that helped. Charlie, thanks for the heads up. That is going to wrap it up for me today. Again, we've got that Arctic weather on the way later on this week. That is going to be a change. I'll end with this because I think this kind of has a decent handle on sort of how it's going to work out. And so I'm going to pull up one computer model here, and then we'll get on the way for the day. So here is a computer that I think is doing this pretty well. And here's a look at midnight. One of the things that computers struggle with when Arctic air comes in is how quick the temperature changes, or temperature drops off, I should say, behind the front. But the idea here is right. So see how through the course of the morning, the temperatures are falling over eastern Colorado and kind of pushing up toward the hills as that colder air comes in. And so it will be colder in the afternoon than when the day starts. And it's a shallow air mass. So notice Alamosa on Friday may be the warm spot around, and then a couple areas on the western slope. But notice that the upper Arkansas River Valley, that front may be working west through Fremont County, may not get to Salida yet, or it may get into Salida late in the day, and Buena Vista may not get it as it tries to go north up the Arkansas River. This computer model is hanging on to Trinidad and Walsenburg being a little bit too high in elevation to get into that Arctic air mass. Not sure how that will work out. That's one of the things that we have to kind of watch for, because this shallow Arctic air, man, you're either in this stuff or you aren't. And it's kind of like, imagine that the eastern foothills of the Rockies are the shore of the ocean. And the Arctic air is kind of like when the waves are coming up to the shoreline. I mean, you're either in the water or you're not, right? There's not much of a transition, and that's what happens with the Arctic air. So sometimes after these things come in, or when they're on their way out, you get parts of the higher terrain that are noticeably warmer than those of us that are in the Arctic air. And, you can get something like this when that Arctic air is trying to leave, where maybe the south end of the Springs, sitting on Fountain Creek, is, in the teens, and you're into the mid-30s up on the north side of town because you've gotten out of that air mass. Or sometimes you see that between Canyon City and Pueblo, Walsenburg and Pueblo, as this cold air kind of recedes across the region. And it makes the extended forecast a little bit interesting too, because, usually the colder air sticks around a little bit more significantly, and it's certainly looking like that on Saturday now. And so, we have a big change on the way here later on this week. Of course, we'll talk about it on Peaks to Plains Weather. You can check it out as well. And I thank you for joining me today on Mornings with Meister. It's time for me to get another cup of coffee here. Again, American Classic Coffee. If you get something on their website and you put Peaks into checkout, you get 10% off. I'm just loving having Spence's coffee. It is delicious. So have a great day, crew. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday.